Alrighty. Let's get to talking about some of this Ninjetti Yellow. This is, believe it or not, so far out of all of 2022, this to me is by far one of the best character releases. I don't usually say that a lot, but she does impact my tier list, so we have to update that when we get a chance. But she definitely made an impact, and we're going to be discussing that. So pretty much, Ninjetti Yellow. Mighty Morphin characters, how OP does Enway make them? They didn't make this one too OP, but like a weird, awkward balance between being just a balanced character, period. But yeah, but there's a lot of things to always take into consideration when it comes to Aisha in general. She is very, very fast. To a certain extent, not like fast, but she's like normal strike speed fast when it comes to her breakers, so you have to have like a good reaction time to some of those things when you get a chance. Usually you can use that strike to bait out blocks if they're that derpy to it. So if you can do what you gotta do, you can get away with a lot with this character. The one thing that kind of holds her back sometimes is underground attack, because underground attack is great against stupid people, but terrible against smart people. It's a thing. But underground attack is really interesting, to say the least, that they gave another character these types of invincibility frames. Like, that's actually really interesting that they did it again for another character, but this one actually has to use this move when your opponent is in their strike animation or something like that. They use Connor. If you go underground just in time, you can dodge Connor and get away with Mur. That's pretty much how that iframe really works. You can't do it exactly on the move when your opponent presses the strike, aka like Daggeron. Daggeron's an in-your-face strike, and if you press it at the same time, it's not going to work. So about that special, that to me is actually one of the strongest supers kind of now in the game. I say that because it legit already starts off it starts out with hyper armor and ends with hyper armor, but since it's such a close range attack, that's why they let her keep a huge hyper armor on it, which is interesting. So her and like Red Buster both have like their own version of like specials that have like iframes and are always gonna instantaneously beat out your opponent, depending. I mean, Dragon Trini can do that too, but you can not actually knock her out of her special. But that's like another thing I noticed, like the fact that they actually gave her hyper armor on that leg sweep actually clinches a lot of games with her, believe it or not. Depending when you use it and the timing, you can actually get away with murder. Because Aisha has a lot of good moves, and it really goes to show her middle slot is definitely a nice bread and butter. Not Ninja Tommy bread and butter, but a decent bread and butter where she covers the distance game where your opponent can't really run away. And if they keep wasting energy, you can capitalize on them with Ninjetti's skill. So that's another thing I like about the character. She covers a lot of range, and I'm all for it. Also, I didn't have a response to underground attack. Like I said, there's ways to get around it. Underground attack being underground attack. So this match, in a mirror match, you would think, what do you want to happen? Obviously, you want to get your super before your opponent. Because if you do, you know you can beat them at the very end of the match. Because you have a way to do 12 energy worth of combos. See, I already could have done another 4, so she would have died. So that super into the middle slot breakers 3 times is already solid stuff. I mean, to me, if I was a lawyer, if I was a very rich man, la 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 la. But if I was a rich man, she'd actually be worth the level 5. Usually I don't promote that shit, but I'm just saying, judging from personal level 1 experience, if this chick was at level 5, she's actually fucking dangerous due to the fact that her middle slot is really good on the fucking range game. Characters with solid range is always like my favorite types of characters. They cover the distance, and when your opponent tries to run away from you, you always catch up to them, and that's the best thing about Aisha. It's one of the things I really appreciate about the character in general. See, I had to be a little bit faster. Again, underground attack requires like timing, but also depends how fast an assist is, if you'll be able to go underground in time. That Ninjetti backflip kick is really solid, especially that pop-up. Hopefully they don't nerf that. They might in the future if people get annoyed with it. But it's a really solid animation, and I hope they don't get rid of it. It's a great pop-up, and it costs 4. It's not like it was Ninja Tommy when he started out with a freaking 3 and you can go into it. There's a reason why everything had to be a 4 for it, because, again, they were trying to learn from their Ninja Tommy ways on Ninjetti releases. And it goes to show that a 4 is kind of like a safe bet. And that's another way of dodging things. Like I said, there's ways to get around it, and these are some solid video evidence of it. So just keep that in mind. I mean, this character is solid. This is the first time I'm actually vouching for a character all year versus everyone else. This is why I like to do the level 1 test, because honestly, it gives me more data and information. Like, if you were to, you know, throw your life savings away on a character, she wouldn't be such a bad choice. Just cuz. And she's very balanced too. I mean, she's got a very balanced state of doing things. It just looks like it because you see all these nice graphics, like, oh, look at that damn. But keep in mind, this is all energy based and all proper setups. It's very important that you understand that. But I mean, in the future, if people complain again, they can probably make Ninja Flip a 5 and really just kind of get her damage down. But again, I wouldn't recommend it, since Underground Attack is technically a holdback move for her. Not a lot, but it's like one of the moves that kind of gives her that, oh. But that's why Enway balanced her out. They balanced it out with, like, oh, look at her strikes. We are going to put certain restrictions. AKA, you can only dash cancel off the hit the first time or the first hit. Because if you go for the second hit of that spin, it automatically goes through for the third hit. So that's an easy block on her, depending on how you set her up. Again, like I said, they made certain restrictions to the character because that was important. You know, they didn't want to make the character too OP. Because imagine if you could do all this stuff and you're doing all this magnificent damage and comboing and things are happening. So, you know, like at first glance, like, wow, this is a balanced character. Like, way too balanced, because that's amazing that they actually balanced out a character who has, like, kind of like a good kid on her middle versus her strikes, which require proper timing and situations depending on your fight. So that's why, like, they really did, for the first time ever, balance a character out by not making her too OP, but just the right amount of damage to keep up with the characters in the future. Aisha looks like she can last a long time. Definitely a good solid investment. This character actually won't die. Like some characters, like Ninja Tommy was a good investment. Blaze, obviously, until Blaze gets nerfed. We'll see how that goes. So on and so forth. But Tanya looks like something that can actually last a lot longer in the long run, since her moveset is balanced due to her strikes being what they are, and her breakers being what they are as well. I mean, Dragon Shield Jason covers long range, but it's a jump in the air where you can combo off them. Aisha kind of avoids that, which gives her that solid edge in combat. Again, that dash cancel is pretty solid. You don't even need to go for the first hit, which makes her really good too. And like I said, there's a reason why Underground Attack exists. Not only to dodge a strike, but it's there to pretty much tell you, pretty much keep her at bay from being too, how do I put this, too OP, I guess, in a way. Since that attack can be weighted by turtles, and turtles will be waiting on it, and then it's an easy block, and they capitalize their damage, etc. So that's why it's always important to look out. I mean, like I said, doesn't mean I don't like the move, because Underground Attack is actually amazing, because it does, again, another attack that covers long range. And that's pretty solid stuff. And it looks like it's a little bit of a hard dash back. That requires some proper timing. So, yeah, we go for that, and then we go for some Solar Ranger. We need Solar Ranger to add up some damage, but we only did Solar Ranger, so we had the pop-up. So that's why Solar Ranger is always one of those great assists that was an everlasting investment. So pretty much like with Aisha, now that she's out now, this is definitely one of Enway's top characters on 2022. 2022 was a little bit for some of the characters. They were balanced, but they weren't like really like ladder balance for like if you're a whale or something, like you whaled them out, they're going to be like proper for the ladder. But with Aisha, I already see like she's proper for everything. So she passed the test of being on the tier list in pretty much in the next video that we run. See how many characters actually changed it up. But yeah, definitely what she does. The long range is too solid. I mean, you can't beat long range warriors. They're the best. You put in a lot of work. And that's like one of my like favorite things, you know, like long range, stop your opponent from wussing out, getting out of like certain predicaments. And the fact that she's heavy on her breakers is good for people who have heavy shields or heavy breakers, or they get shield lock, etc. You try to look out for that stuff. Oh my god, level 5 Ninja Tommy. Again, good investment, like I said. Ninja Tommy's always a solid investment at the end of the day, so you're just looking out. So I gotta figure out how to get by that. But look at that. Battle of the Breakers, since both of them are Ninjetti Rangers. Bam. And we stopped them and said no. And then, like I said, this super is like one of the best supers because it, again, gives you that oomph pressure to keep going into your moves. Yeah, that breaker was pretty solid. So he had nothing but breakers and shields, so it's like timing this was key. Dashing out of that, blocking that was really a 50-50 because if that was the breaker, I was dead. But since it was the strike, he was getting greedy. So that's why Aisha's a pretty damn good character. Balanced, but not OP like Blaze. You notice how she's not as OP as Blaze. They kept her at a balanced state, so they know they don't have to touch her in the future. Blaze will get nerfed, and then Aisha will rise more into power. Along with Izzy, I mean, Izzy is strong as well due to her breaker game being very strong as well, and long range. So that's why Izzy's pretty much on the top tier of characters as well. See, perfect dash. Like I said, it's all timing with ground pound. That's what makes it a great attack. That's what you just got to keep your eyes out for. So that's pretty much the important things of Aisha. I mean, once you master ground pound, underground attacking, it's like very, very strong. Right now, I'm just trying to cycle for a shield because I need something that's going to bait him out. Like I said, you can always go for the third hit on that. There's a reason why there's a little bit more damage when it comes to the third hit and the last hit. Because that's what they kind of made the character for. They wanted it to be like the third hit hits and then the fourth and third hit go through. It was meant just to be a 3-hit combo since most of her attacks are tricky to pull off without a little air game. But if you go for the full hit, you know, you get away with murder, etc. Again, cover the range, but I'm about to die. Good thing he got scared. So this is where we notice Aisha's about to put in that work on a level 4. Doggy Kruger. We get that hitbox in. We pound him up. Kick him. Bam, before Dino Black comes in. If he brought in Dino Black, he actually would have killed me, I think. But he didn't know. Unless my kick would have been fast enough. But Dino Black is a really fast assist that can get the damage to kill. Just always note, Aisha does take damage. So if you survive the attack with your hyper armor, you can technically almost win the match. She actually has that good type of clutch potential as well. She actually does. That kick changes a lot of games due to the fact that it's a freaking heavy armor kick. Guaranteed heavy armor. And that's what makes it good. Because it has heavy armor, it's a great attack at the end of the day. Attacks like that, those are like the best things to like always have. Especially in fighting games, any character with like good hyper armor moves are usually the ones that are in like the top tier class of fighting games. Because those are the moves that can get by your opponent and maximize your damage output. So that's why, like, I actually do like Aisha. And, you know, I always hate liking MMPR characters in general. But she definitely was a game changer for sure. Not an OP game changer, but just the right amount of balance in a character. Because keep in mind, some of her moves can be readable. Her breakers are readable to an extent. If you have your strike or your character is a strike-heavy character, you can get around Aisha pretty well on her breaker game. And that's why she has her 3-cost psych outs. Again, there's a reason why they didn't want to give Aisha a 2. If they gave Aisha a 2, then she really would have been a busted character, because then those 4s wouldn't matter because they gave her a 2. So you always got to look out for those little signs and things when it comes to playing characters, understanding their concept. I love Dagger on assist. 5,000 plain for a 4-cost. GG's. So pretty much in conclusion, character pretty freaking solid. This is actually one of the most solid release characters of 2022, and I actually can't stress that enough. Seriously. Solid release. When it comes to the level 1 game, it tells me more than having a wailed out character. And just judging from the gameplay, from what have I experienced with her, I'm like, yeah, this is a character. This is a real fucking character that has that momentum, that can keep up with a lot of the meta. She is pretty nutty. I won't lie. But she's not OP nutty. She's just nutty. So that's why I do like her for that, and being a little on the balance side of things, and having like the only downside is her underground attack. But again, it can be a double-edged blade where it can give you profit at the end or make you lose. Just depends on your opponent if they're that much of a turtle or waiting on things, etc. So like I said, you always go for those punch attacks. You don't even know. You can actually go full idiot a lot with this character, and people wouldn't believe you're going full idiot. But that's the beauty of Aisha in general. That's pretty much it, guys. There's nothing more to say. So thanks for watching. That is Aisha. Thank you, DC. Love you. Keep up the good work. I know you're busy. Thank you, R2. And thank you, Jesse, for your lovely, lovely donations. Let's keep the ball rolling with this game as much as we can. Peace out, homies. And Ghost Channel. And everyone else that donates in Yuva and Ghostblade. And everyone in between. Thank you.